8-year-old Hinanawi in Tahiti, where it started, saying it was like the sun was smiling.
Oh, that's a nice description.
Yeah, heavenly display, as they say. Tremendous sight, seeing the corona there. Thank you very much. It's time for the papers. Rowena's joining us from The Guardian. Good morning to you.
Good
Welcome.
morning.
And we are looking, first of all, at stun guns or tasers and this debate about what they may have done or otherwise in the Raoul Moat story.
Absolutely. I mean, let's just be straight about what they do here. We're talking about 2 electric barbs that fire 50,000 volt charges straight into a human being, and we're rolling them out massively. We have been, without a proper public debate, and I think it's good that they've hit our pages so we can actually talk about them.
Northumbria police at the top of the table on their use as well, despite the details.
They use as many as the whole Metropolitan Police Force combined, so they're a real case study of where this is going on.
Yeah, so the Guardian's actually debating this. I mean, what's the conclusion here?
I mean, I think the idea is just that they've been responsible for hundreds of deaths in the United States, and we're going ahead and pushing them out, rolling them out, rolled out 10,000 in 2008 without looking at the consequences or without looking at proper training methods.
Because they were seen as a non-lethal alternative and to subdue people before arrest. But clearly, if you're talking about 50,000 volt shock, if you've got some heart condition or anything of that nature.
Exactly, and there are worries that they are being used on people who are too old or too young, or they may be causing, people who have epilepsy. There could be some real health effects there. I mean, the pro point that people are saying is that you could use them as an alternative to guns.
Yeah.
And that's the idea. But the thing is that gun use is also going up in the UK, so they don't seem to be stopping that trend either. Well,
the police investigation in Rothbury looking at the details of how they were used in this particular instance, but we'll see how that develops. Now, on to the Mail and sell-by date in waste war. 450,000 tonnes of good food dumped every year.
Yeah, no, and this is what they're planning to do is dump the sell-by date that comes up on your packets of food, because obviously you get use-by dates, sell-by dates, best before dates, and it all just feels a little bit overwhelming. And we're not thick, are we, as consumers? But you have to say that when you pick it up, you don't have very much time these days. You look at it, you just see the first date possible, and you probably like to see the best before date, and you chuck it in the bin when that's not actually what it's asking you to do. So keeping it to 1 is going to keep it simpler and hopefully stop us wasting some of all this food.
So is this part of the change to the Food Standards Agency that we're seeing with the health reforms as well?
No, that's quite separate. Yeah, that's separate.
But what are they suggesting? That we should have something that says, what, safe by or safe to use by?
Just have one single date, which is just used by this date, and that's the date when it's safe to eat or not safe to eat. Right. So we're not confusing it with when the supermarket, whether it should be taken off the supermarket shelves. It's literally when it should go in the bin, when it shouldn't.
See, I had some Wensleydale and it said 6th of July.
Yeah, so we've all done it.
I'm still here.
But I always feel really worried when I eat something that's gone past its best before date. But actually, quite a lot of the time, you are all right, especially if it's just a day or two.
Yeah.
But things like meat, you'd be worried about. It builds
your immune system. That's what I tell myself anyway. But,
my husband will eat anything, even if it's like a week or 2 weeks out, he'll be like, oh, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's put a bit of sauce on it. Yeah, exactly. Worcester sauce.
The figures on this are amazing, though. I mean, apparently we throw out 1.3 million yogurts a week. Literally, I mean, that's just unbelievable. Yeah. That's such a waste.
I guess the problem is, when you're talking about dairy products, cheese and dairy products, listeria and other things, people will err on the side of caution.
Yeah, absolutely.
OK, The Sun, I'm a teacher and a porn star. So what, ?
Yeah, apparently he says there are many more immoral ways to earn money than romping in front of a camera. Look at lawyers who defend paedophiles or bankers who raise money using questionable means.
Right. His other name is Johnny Anglais.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, and he's starred...
Steamy routine,
He's starred in films including raunchy titles such as European Honeys 4. To look at him, I don't know about you, I don't think I'd mind him teaching me bits about sex education.
Is that what he teaches?
That's what he teaches.
Seriously, you're joking?
No, he's a sex education teacher who's also got a side career.
There is a slight conflict of interest there, is there not?
There's something a bit distasteful about all of this, and he's supposed to be a role model. The pupils are supposed to look up to him. I just think this is all a bit strange.
I think it is a bit strange, but there's nothing wrong with sex, right? It's not an evil act. It's not a bad act. But the problem I have with it is that apparently in a lot of these films he's not even using contraception, and he's just going in there. And, that is an awful message to send to kids. If you're preaching one thing in the classroom and doing something else outside.
Yeah, mind you, here's the best line. Garrett found he'd been rumbled as a stripper when he caught pupils laughing. Which, so maybe it's not all it's cracked up to
He
be.
has
I
to
don't
put
know.
up with a whole load in the classroom ever
Yeah.
since it's come out about that.
Well, I mean, that's the other issue in his job as a teacher. How can he now keep discipline in the classroom with this?
Well, he's been suspended now, but I mean, you say at the end of this article, he says he said exciting times lie ahead. I'm sure with profile coverage like this, he's going to get picked up by the industry like a shot.
So Johnny Anglais rides again. There we are. Right. Osborne's cap on housing benefits driving poor families into ghettos. Rather a sort of long involved piece here in The Independent.
Yeah, well, after Osborne capped the housing benefit in the budget, a lot of charities are coming out and saying, look, combined with homelessness, this is really going to drive poor families out of the city onto the edges. I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, I'm a working professional, I'm a graduate, and I still find it really difficult to pay rent in London in a basic flat and a council estate. And, and I don't know what this is going to do to people who are out of work who are more vulnerable.
Yeah, we tend to assume maybe it is people who are struggling at the bottom fringes of society, but as you indicate, housing costs hit everyone across the border, particularly in London and the South East.
Absolutely. Yeah. But, if you're at the very bottom of that ladder, then you're going to get kicked off by these kind of changes.
Yeah.
Everyone has to take a rung down the ladder, but someone at the bottom is actually going to fall off, and people are really going to get into some serious trouble
Especially
here.
families hit with bigger VAT bills for food and the
Yeah,
rest of
it's
it,
the combination of things that really counts. to me.
OK, and finally, you're featuring the barefoot bandit once more. Colton Harris Moore, all 6'5" of him.
I think I've got a bit of a crush on this guy. I think he's absolutely fantastic. He has been on the run from American authorities for 2 years. He's 19 years old. He's called the Barefoot Bandit because, as you can see here in this piece, he actually, that's his brand. He leaves like shoeless prints at the scenes of his crimes. And so there he is being taken off at last after 2 years.
Having taught himself to fly on his own, escaping in 5 separate aircraft.
Yeah, and he's got such a cult following. I think I'm going to go join his Facebook fan page.
I see the Hollywood script being developed at this very moment. There we are. Rowena, thank you very much indeed for that. We'll see you again. But let's update you now on our top stories with the government unveiling those plans. Let's update you too with the rest of the day's headlines now. Here's Charlotte.
Thanks, Mark. Police in Uganda say at least 64 people have been killed in 2 bomb blasts in the country. The explosions hit 2 separate bars packed with people watching the world. Thousands of visitors to the Pacific have enjoyed a rare total solar eclipse. Around 4,000 tourists on Easter Island stood amongst its famous stone statues and they watched as the skies turned black in the middle of the day. It's all caused by the moon blocking out the sun as it aligns with the Earth. The eclipse lasted for 4 minutes and 41 seconds and it then headed out east across the Pacific. What a beautiful sight.
Known as the diamond, that bit, as you can see why. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Let's take a look at the front pages of the morning papers. But let's get an update now on the rest of the morning's news. Here's Charlotte.
Thanks, Mark. The government will hand patients and GPs greater control over the NHS today in what's billed as the largest shake-up in the NHS for 60 years. Bureaucracy will be cut by £1 billion with cash redirected.